Aaron.
Yeah.
Why didn't you say it the first time I said Aaron?
Because it's pronounced Aaron?
You done messed up, Aaron!
Aaron is here, everyone. Welcome back for more SPTV, where every day's a great day not to be in a cult. Okay, recently we've been having a little bit of fun reacting to some of the content from Scientology's honeypots in Twin Cities, St. Paul, Minnesota. They are part of Scientology's coordinated social media campaign to have some of their new staff members in various cities create TikTok accounts and do little informational videos about Scientology. And it turns out these two guys, well, we know, the Scientology account that they post on is Scientology Minnesota. There's only one Scientology organization in Minnesota. They call it the Twin Cities org. It's located in St. Paul, Minnesota. And, a lot of you veteran watchers will know that Natalie Webster from Life After a Cult was in Scientology in Minnesota for a very long time. And it turns out she knows these two Scientology honeypots. In particular, she knows their father, who spent a surprising number of hours in Natalie's mouth, apparently. And here to talk about it with me is the one and only Natalie.
Hey. I know when I was talking to you about this the other day, I think I texted you and I'm like, yeah. And their dad spent hours in my mouth. And then I go on to explain that I'm like, I should probably clarify what I meant by that. He was my dentist.
Oh, scandalous. Hot tea incoming. Okay, for any newcomers to the channel, you can find Natalie Webster's channel at Natalie Life After a Cult. Okay, so I want to let me share the other screen. Okay, so Jenna and I did a whole reaction video to this video that these two put out. Let's introduce them to the audience. What are these individuals' names?
Gunnar and Holden.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the guy on the left, his name is Gunnar. I don't know why I think that is so funny. He looks exactly like what someone whose name is Gunnar would look like, in my opinion. Okay, and his brother is Holden, Holden. Okay,
Yeah, I think so.
Which one is older?
I don't know for sure. I thought Gunnar was older, but I could be wrong about that. It's hard to tell because Holden's got that, white. Is that like a goatee that's white and black?
It's like a Cruella de Vil thing he's got going on there.
Very much so. I was very surprised to see that. I mean, just, on staff, right? It's like uniforms and consistency, and maybe things have changed for the better.
I don't think he's dying it that. I don't think he's dying it that way. I think it's natural.
That's a lot of gray hair there, though. I don't know. But they are two of 5 kids who were the children of 2 Scientologists who I knew back in the day. Their dad, like I said, was my dentist, which for those who might have not been here earlier, that's all the hours he spent in my mouth was as my dentist.
Yeah, he got up in there.
And yeah, he totally did. And I got to tell you, I didn't mind because this kid's dad, you got a picture of the dad? Woo! Talk about a honeypot. Daddy is fine.
Okay, so before we get into me asking you all sorts of questions about the family and their Scientology involvement, let's actually take a look at this video. It's only about 60 seconds long. Here it is.
You're being lied to about Scientology. Okay, so one of the most frequently asked things I've gotten as a Scientologist or we see in our comments is, do we get to see our family? I think this is a very important question because it's very wrong, the answers and thoughts people have. First things first is this. This is actually my brother. We work together, we have a great relationship with each other. Now, we are in a family of 7. Our parents are Scientologists and our sisters do not call themselves Scientologists. That does not affect our relationship to them, nor their relationship to us. We see each other all the time. We get together with each other on holidays. Anything special, we're always there for each other.
Yeah, and majority of my friends and his friends aren't Scientologists, and we see them all the time. And that goes for our family. And soon we're going to do a video on how him and I got into Scientology in Minnesota, so stay tuned.
There you go.
Ooh,
High
I,
quality content there.
I think it's really interesting the wording that they chose to use, which is our sisters don't call themselves Scientologists. And if I remember correctly, they have 3 sisters because there's 5 kids total. You notice that he didn't say they're not Scientologists. They said they don't call themselves Scientologists.
Right. Here, you can put the mic down a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, that way it won't blow into it. Okay, so you noticed that too. Did you already see the video Jenna and I did about this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so I and at the end he's like, later we'll tell you how we got into Scientology. And it's like, well, you just said how you got into Scientology. Your parents are Scientologists. So what do you know about all this?
So their parents are Scientologists, but when they were growing up, I never saw them regularly at the org, right? Usually people bring their kids to events and things like that. And I remember even thinking when I was a public Scientologist and on the operating Thetan committee, which is like PTO for Scientology, people who like volunteer to get people in Scientology, raise money for Scientology. And I remember thinking like, wow, I wonder why, didn't see their mom often at the time. And by the way, lovely people, both their parents, Jennifer and Scott, when I knew them, were just lovely people. But I always wondered like, okay, how come they don't bring their kids in? Why aren't the kids involved? It seemed a little, what we would call in Scientology, a little out pointy. And I know there was at one point, it seemed like the mom maybe wasn't as fully on board as the dad is and always was. So who knows? But you know how that goes. Sometimes you have one spouse that's more dedicated to Scientology than the other one. I always had the idea that Scott was more the hardcore Scientologist and that his wife, Jennifer, not so much. Now that could have changed because I have not been there in what's it been like 15 years. So it's been a minute. But I was
In your
surprised to
opinion,
see this.
from what you know, would all of the kids actually have been born into Scientology, but then the parents just didn't make them do it that much as they were growing up? Or is it possible the kids were already born when the parents got in?
I cannot say with certainty, but I'm pretty sure most of them, I think, were born
Okay.
before, because if I remember correctly, their dad got into Scientology. He's a dentist, so he got in through one of the Scientology front groups. Like it might have even been Hollander, one of those. That's how he got into Scientology. And I think there was a period of time after I left where their dad may have been a staff member. I think he might even have been the executive director, which just blew my mind. I don't know for how long that was. And Gunnar, the one who does most of the videos, when he joined staff in 2018, he started as the deputy executive director. And I'm assuming that's still his job, these years later. So that's interesting that he's doing TikToks and all that.
It's so interesting. There was another at the Philly org. There was a dentist who got into Scientology through one of the consulting groups and also became the executive director of the org. His name was Leo McCormick. I mean, I'm telling you, these wise consulting groups are definitely the biggest source of new Scientologists, particularly new Scientologists with money.
Yeah.
Jenna had noticed that Gunnar, particularly, definitely seemed to just be a rich, privileged Scientology kid. And, his TikToks is him hanging off the side of his speedboat or him sitting on his super bike. And also his pin that he wears has nothing to do with his training level, which is what normal staff member pins would be. It's a superpower completion pin.
Yes.
And
yes,
they both
that is
have
a huge amount of money. That's a crazy amount of money, which makes me wonder, were they training at Flag? Did they go to Flag and do any training? And while they were there, they did superpower.
Right. It does make me wonder that. But also, if they had finished that recent training program at Flag, they would be wearing that pin, and they're not wearing that pin. They're just wearing a superpower pin, which is a little unusual because the other staff members and the other orgs that are doing the TikToks are all wearing their FEBC pin.
Yeah, and he's not wearing one
in
like
San
that.
Francisco, in DC, and in Tampa, they're wearing their FEBC training pins, and these guys aren't wearing them, which also makes me think he couldn't possibly be the DED unless the Twin Cities org doesn't have their new command team back.
Which I would not be surprised at all, because I don't even know if they'd have enough people to send. And I don't know if their dad is still on staff or not. I was really, when I first saw this, and I don't remember, you or Jenna sent it to me and asked me if I knew who that was. And at first, I didn't recognize him. But then when I watched the video of him water skiing, I went, okay, there's only one family who was really into water skiing, who had the financial means. Because one of the videos he talks about, like, what I forget what it was, like, what does a Scientology staff member do, or what does a Scientologist do in their free time? And it showed them water skiing and hunting and doing all this stuff. And number one, I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, I don't think so. The rest of us were water skiing, but how lucky for you. But it makes sense, being that I don't think the kids were that involved. And he himself, Gunnar talks about in his video, that he got into Scientology after he broke his wrist and he had surgeries and he did some Dianetics auditing. That was when he was in high school. So he probably graduated. I don't know if he went on to college. I don't know what I mean, we know he joined staff, I do believe, in 2018, but I don't know how old he was. But it is not representing, oh my gosh, what is the word? Representative of how I would say most people grow up in Scientology. And it's because they really, from my perspective, when I was there, these kids weren't really involved. They weren't doing, courses that I was aware of. Maybe that changed after he broke his wrist. But the fact that he went all the way through high school without identifying as a Scientologist, right, tells me they were not pushed in like most of us were, where it's like, no, you're on course as soon as you can read. If you can read, you can do a course.
Right. I'm trying to think. God, I wonder when. So when he said in the video, most of our friends, most of our friends are not Scientologists. My first thought was, yeah, that's because there's like 6 Scientologists in Minnesota. Like, it would be impossible for most of your friends to be Scientologists. And if you're saying they went through high school and maybe college mostly not really identifying as Scientologists, then that would also make perfect sense. And also, some people might be wondering, well, how can they grow up in a rich Scientology family and not identify as Scientologists? It's one of those things where they live in an area where there's really hardly any Scientology. I mean, how would you describe the Scientology presence in Minnesota or, St. Paul Twin? Has the org always been in St. Paul?
No, it was in Minneapolis before. And when they got their ideal org, their big building, they bought it was a Children's Science Museum in St. Paul. Like all the other orgs did. They had to raise millions of dollars and then millions of dollars to renovate it. And as you witnessed yourself when you came to Minnesota, it's empty. It is completely dead. Even when you watch their videos, there's hardly any life or noise or sound going on. It's like a cemetery. It's just quiet.
Yeah. So, like, even when you were there, just to give an idea of how many Scientologists are even, quite honestly, in the entire state, like, how many staff members, and I know it was a while ago, but how many staff members and public would you say were in the org? And keep in mind, it's the only org in the entire state.
Not only the state, in nearby, there's not an org. The nearest org, I think, is Chicago. So
there's nothing in Wisconsin. There's nothing in Montana.
Iowa, the Dakotas, nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
That's right.
If we got 120 people to show up for an event, New Year's or L. Ron Hubbard's birthday, that was like a lot of people. That would be considered a success. So I don't know. I don't know where the 5 million people that are supposed to be Scientologists in Minnesota are. Maybe they were just all hiding then. But it was easy, I think, for them to not bring the kids in. And I remember, because I was on course with their dad for a while, because I remember having to do, I think it was TRs or some drill. And it was just, I was nervous because he's so good looking. I mean, you almost got to pull up a photo. Their dad.
All right. I'm gonna look for it. Scott,
they're a good looking
Scharf,
family. Yeah.
Dentist.
Yeah.
Dentist, Plymouth, Minnesota, cosmetic dentistry.
Could be.
It says Scott Scharf. Okay.
And hey, everybody in the chat, I'm seeing your hellos. And thank you. I'm glad you like the hair. This is 1 year of growth of not coloring. I think
it actually looks great, Natalie. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been letting it just grow. Yeah. Hey. That is a handsome man there.
He looks exactly like his kids.
Yeah. They're still questioning that. And they're all, Scott always worked out a lot. He was always really fit and buff. And, obviously the kids, or at least Gunnar, still walking in that direction.
All right, let's see. Did his wife work in the practice as well?
Not when I was there. I never saw her there. I think she was primarily a stay-at-home mom. I mean, they had 5 kids, so a lot to take care of. And based on the videos that even Gunnar shows, I'm pretty sure that's their property, where they go hunting and all that.
That's their property?
It might be because of where they live. They probably got some acreage. But to your point
I'm
earlier, though, they're a well-to-do family. I
If
mean,
it
he's
looks like
donated millions of dollars. I think I saw once somewhere that he donated over $3 million to Scientology.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and still had money for boats and water skiing and all of the things.
I got to tell you, becoming a dentist seems like a very good career path.
I know. It really does seem like it. I was hoping one of my kids would marry a dentist because that would come in handy, but not so.
Well,
It's up to me now.
What's that?
Now it's up to me to marry a dentist and get a dentist in the family.
Oh, it's up to you now. I've been looking through the staff bios here, looking for a Jennifer Scharf, and I don't see one.
Yeah, I don't think she was there, but I remember her being really nice and down to earth. I mean, he was too. They're really I got nothing bad to say about them. They're good people. And I think their kids, I mean, the boys, as you can see in the videos, they're well-spoken. It's kind of sad. Well, it's very sad. When I was watching that, I was trying to remember my state of mind as a staff member, as a young person, as a teenager, and then in my early 20s, and how, we didn't have social media back then. Back in my day, we didn't have social media. And I was just so surprised that they are allowed to do this because of, if you think about, right, I mean, on social media, it's not a positive experience for Scientology, but we're seeing more of Scientology using young people in social media to try and gain acceptance and lend some credibility to Scientology among young people. That's how they're combating not getting any new people in, because you and I have talked about this a lot. Like, there's just not new people joining. It is the children and the grandchildren. That's how they recruit people or date them and bring them into the fold. How many Scientologists have you met? We're like, how did you get in? It's like, oh, I dated a Scientologist. Honey trap. Honey pot.
Honey trap, honey pot. So I just checked it out. Scott Scharf finished new OT 8 about back in 2018. And he recently finished some courses on the free wins. And his wife recently attested to clear and did all 3 of her L's at Flag. So they're spending
So he's still married then.
buku bucks. But here, now that I know the kid's name, let me specifically search for Gunnar, assuming I'm spelling it right.
I think it's Gunnar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know she did all 3 L's. I mean,
That was very
that's
recent.
expensive.
No,
that
that was very
huge.
recent.
Wow.
There he is. There he is. Okay, so he finished his OT preps. He tested to clear, finished his OT preps, and did his TRs and his metering course at Flag a few years ago. But it doesn't have him doing anything else after that, which makes sense, because if he was doing his FEBC training, he'd have a lot more completions in here.
Yeah, so he probably did it as a public, and maybe too, it's in the same way that celebrities get special treatment in Scientology, families with money who were big donors would get similar special treatment. They didn't want to do anything that was out PR, right? And so I wouldn't doubt too that as a family, they just weren't pushed as much. I'm just shocked that he's been on staff for this long, because he has to know by now.
Well, what's interesting? The training that Gunnar and Holden did at Flag all ends in 2022. So I wonder if that means that's when they joined staff. He
joined staff in 2018.
And where did you see that?
His Facebook page.
Oh,
he announced it. Yeah.
Wow. So Holden in 2022 alone, all at Flag, did his Method 1, Survival Rundown, HRD, all of his expanded grades, Pro TRs, Pro Metering, and PTSSP, all in 2022.
That's
And
the
then
other one.
and then nothing after that. Although I can't remember looking at their Scientology bling. Were they wearing clear bracelets?
I don't recall. It didn't stick out. It didn't stick out at me. Stick out to me like that.
Yes, Holden is wearing a clear bracelet, unless it's just a silver bracelet. But staff members tend not to wear male staff members tend not to wear jewelry like that.
Well, and usually staff members aren't buying jewelry. Those things are expensive. All those clear bracelets and OT bracelets.
Wearing a clear bracelet, and I haven't noticed Gunnar wearing one. But so yeah, I mean, they're spending so millions of dollars of donos to the IAS. Probably another million doing OT8. Probably at least another 100,000 probably going up to clear for the wife, and probably another 500,000 on superpower for the family and everything like that.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, the dentist business is a good business to be in.
I was so bummed. Like when I left, this is when, I had to get a new dentist when I left Scientology. Like I had seen him the year I went, like when I was plotting my departure, my 2 years of being under the radar is when I was a patient of his. And I remember thinking like, damn, I'm going to have to get another dentist. And he's a really good dentist. Very calm, not non-judgmental, and hot as hell.
You know, what's interesting is that, I don't know. I feel like I try to take every little data point that we come across in Scientology and extrapolate it out to some big lesson about the true state of Scientology. And I'm going to do exactly that with the Scharf family and the Twin Cities Ideal Org. So, Scientologists, particularly people who've done a lot and feel like they've gotten a lot out of it, are supposed to be the ones who are most easily going to bring new people into Scientology, especially successful, affluent people, because you can do kind of what Grant Cardone does. Hey, do you want to be more like me? Let me show you what helped me become so successful. So if you've got this whole family and they're very well off, it should be very easy. And they've done all the Scientology there is to do, at least Scott has. It should be relatively easy to be like, look how happy and successful we are. Do you know what did that for us? Scientology. You should try it out for yourself. Okay. So you've got the Scharf family themselves that should be like a Scientology recruitment machine, at least theoretically, right? And then you've got the fact that both Gunnar and Holden work at the Ideal Org. And the Ideal Org itself is supposed to be a Scientologist recruitment machine. It was the whole reason for the Ideal Org strategy. It was supposed to expand Scientology, make OT 9 and 10 possible, and all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And yet, when two of the family members work at the Ideal Org and the rest of the and the parents are OTA and clear, they can't even get the three sisters into Scientology. That's kind of where I'm going with this. Is like, you can't even get the rest of the kids into Scientology. How are you supposed to get anyone else in if you can't even get the three daughters in?
Yeah. Yeah, you'd think that would be pretty evident, but maybe they just consider that they're potential trouble sources, PTS to the middle class, that whole thing. Yet they're doing it all. They're water skiing and doing all of that and being on staff. That's why I'm like, these two, number one, they were not recruited into the Sea Org, or they did not go. There's no way that they haven't been being recruited hardcore to go into the Sea Org, yet they never went in the Sea Org. Oh, you never went in the Sea Org? I don't know.
That is a great
I'm just
point.
saying somebody ain't so dedicated.
The Sea Org would love to get their hands on these.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying, like, I feel like they know. You've been on staff since 2018, so you know Scientology has not grown. You see it there in the Twin Cities. He's been through enough, yet they're still there. And now trying this to be this, honeypot for Scientology.
How did you know Gunnar and Holden, but you don't know the sisters, or do you know the sisters?
I didn't know them. I knew of them, once in a while I would see them, but not often because they didn't come to events that often. Because, all the kids would play together and they're close. My kids are older. but they still would have been, kids together. And I barely remember seeing the kids. And like I said, when I was on the operating Thetan committee, PTO for Scientology, I remember being a little like kind of bugged by it. Like, wait a minute, how come, like, how do they get away with this? Like how, like I was a child, I grew up in Scientology and that was not my experience. But what is one of the big differences? Money. They're an affluent family, huge donors to Scientology. They are going to be treated differently than, say, I was growing up in Scientology.
Yeah. So, okay. So Scott being an OT8 multi-million-dollar donor. I saw a comment earlier. I think it starred, but I'll bring this one up now. I'm going to get to all the starred comments, but I'm going to bring this up out of sequence here. Okay, let's tackle this one. Pocono Pluck. I can't understand being smart enough to be a dentist, but then to be sucked in by Scientology. What are your thoughts on this?
I think they're really good at appealing to that individual on a personal level. My former husband was an optometrist and he got into Scientology from one of these front groups. They help you with your business because a lot of times dentists, chiropractors, even optometrists, they're good at what they do as a doctor, but that doesn't mean they know how to run a business or how to manage people. So in walks the Scientology front group, like Hollander, Sterling, all there's so many of them, or at least there were, but there are only like 2 or 3 main ones. And they help them in their practice by setting up systems, using an org board, right? So they get this organizing board. And it helps them. And then they start digging into their personal life. Hey, what you got going on? You seem to be having these problems at home. They find their ruin, what is ruining their lives, rub their face in it and be like, well, you know what? Scientology can help you with that. These things helped you. This can help you even more. They appeal to that. We're helping the able become more able. And you are an able person. You're successful, right? As a dentist, you have this beautiful family. It's a whole different kind of sell in that way. And, there are things that I'm sure helped him. I was shocked when I heard that their dad had joined staff. I don't know for how long that was, but I was just like, wow, like now you really, like, how the donuts are made when you are a staff member. Like you see behind the curtain way more than you would as an average public person. That's why I keep saying, like, they know by now. They've been there long enough to know it's a shit show. Yet, here they are putting out this idea and this narrative of what it's like to be a Scientology staff member that's just not true. No, you show me some other staff member who's going around water skiing and doing all that. And that's fantastic that they got to grow up like that. But that is not the experience.
No, of course not. It also occurred to me that one of the benefits of having the kids of this rich family on staff is it doesn't hurt them if they don't get paid at all.
Mhm.
Like other staff members are literally relying on what tiny little money they earn to actually support themselves and pay their bills. But, the Scharf kids don't have to worry about something like that.
Yeah, even in one of Gunner's posts, I think it was on Facebook, he talked about like, it's, things and money is not important to me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking like, yes, says somebody with things and money. You grew up very privileged and good for you. Power to you. That's fantastic. But what you're selling online, what you're trying to say on TikTok, what you're putting forth as Scientology and what it's like, and this is the thing that bugs me the most about this, is they're putting forth a narrative of what it's like to be a Scientology staff member that is complete and utter BS, and they know it. They know it.
Right. They do know it. I just feel like the only way to try to recruit people into Scientology is to misrepresent what it is. Even when they recruit for the Sea Org, it's many are called, few are chosen. It's like,
Exactly.
You're not turning anybody away. Stop it.
Yeah, come on.
You're taking literally everyone willing to join who hasn't taken LSD. And these days, kids don't take LSD. So that's not a thing.
Exactly. If you can fog a mirror, you can sign a billion-year contract.
That's right. That is totally correct. Okay. Sharona says, I don't think it's the white part of his goatee that looks weird. It's the dark part that is creeping down his neck. I didn't notice. Vanessa says, and how often are they seeing these non-Scientologist friends, I wonder?
Yeah.
So, isn't Twin Cities one of the org that's broken out between Day and Foundation?
Yes.
So that's it. So these guys are likely Day staff, in my opinion. Actually, they could be Foundation. How do we know?
Well, I mean, I guess he could have been out on the weekend. A lot of his videos that he's doing at the org is,
Yeah, they could totally be
in
weekend.
his daytime, but it
It could
could
be
be on
weekend.
the weekend. Yeah, it could be.
Like maybe they actually work real jobs. Maybe they work. So anyway, my point is, when you're working at an org that's broken out between Day and Foundation, the day shift is like Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, and the Foundation shift it's nights and weekends, 7 to 10, 6 to 10 on the weekdays, and 9 to
Mhm.
6 on the weekends. So when you're working at one of those orgs, you can be a staff member and you basically have the other half of your week available, except most staff members are working are having to
Yeah.
work jobs outside of that time. And so they really have no time available.
And you're supposed to be on course. You're supposed to have your study time as well. But if they're still, living at home and still on the teat, then they don't need to have another job outside of that. And in a Scientology family, if you have 2 kids on staff, you would be flowing power to them, which is a Scientology concept, right? Flow power to power by supporting them while they're on staff. Like that would be considered a contribution in the eyes of Scientology for them to support their kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, I keep looking at how they're selling this being on staff and in Scientology. And I'm like, it is so not in alignment with reality, And I find it so interesting that that's the angle that they're going with to try and legitimize it and make it seem like it's normal to, join Scientology staff or be in a cult. I am also surprised that in one of Gunner's posts, he was talking about, hey, I'm a Scientologist, and some people say it's a cult and blah, blah, blah. Like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Number one rule in Scientology public relations is never repeat the enemy line. And an enemy line is Scientology is a cult. This mother effer is repeating the enemy line like left and right. And I'm like, I'm here for it. It's more authentic.
Yeah.
But where's the Office of Special Affairs with this? Like, what is going on? Like, or did they just like not show up for work? I mean, what's going on that these kids are allowed to go and say these things? And I love it. But it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I mean, I couldn't believe that he said that, but more like, where's the correction? I mean, think about it, Aaron, like back in my day, I would have been like pulled into ethics immediately. I'm the one who got in trouble for doing a strip fitness class. And this guy is hanging topless off a boat, like, okay, so this is what we get to do now today. I mean, it's fine. I'm here for it. But don't you think it's weird that they're allowed to say the things that they're saying, which makes me think like maybe no one's running it. Maybe they're just going rogue and doing this with no direction, because there is no Office of Special Affairs anymore, because there are, the Sea Org is dwindling and has been, that there really aren't too many people, guarding the castle, and these kids are just doing whatever they want.
Oh, I think there's still a DSA, a Director of Special Affairs, who's the head of the Office of Special Affairs in every org. Natalie, did I tell you this? I called the Salt Lake City org the other week, and I called and left a message for who did I leave a message for? Anyway, whoever left a message for, I got on the phone and I left a message. When I say left a message, a written message with the receptionist, who was like a 90-year-old woman who couldn't hear what I was saying. I had to literally yell on the phone so she could hear me, right?
Yeah.
I left my real name. I left my real phone number. I got a phone call back from the Director of Special Affairs. Okay. I said that I was calling from Clearwater, Florida. They just assumed that I was a Scientology staff member. Okay. And I got on the phone with the DSA, who told me she was also holding the ED post temporarily. She was the TED. She was the temporary executive director. She said, she was a French woman. I actually have her name saved. She's a French woman, French Canadian. And she was the DSA holding the ED post because they only had 3 staff members.
Whoa.
She told me all this. She told me all of this. And she said their command team was still in training at Flag. So they're on a skeleton crew and they have 3 staff members. But imagine, I've never in my life heard of the executive director post and the director of special affairs post being held by the same person at the same time. And
yeah, they're not even in the same. The director of special affairs post is like kind of by itself over here, and the executive director is over everything. Yeah,
that's right. And
wow,
so they had so few staff.
wild.
And so to be clear, it wasn't the ED having to hold the DSA post. It was the DSA having to hold the executive director post. And what I was doing is I was calling the org to find out if that lunatic who had been stalking me for a little bit, Whitney Petrie, I was actually, she claimed that she had been, she claimed that she had been a Scientologist from Salt Lake City. Yeah. And so I wanted to check into her story. And so I called the Salt Lake City org specifically saying, hey, I'm looking to verify if a public named Whitney Petrie has been on lines at the org in the last couple of years. And I asked, you know, can I speak to the ethics officer or the DSA or the DINR or the HAS? And everyone I asked for, the receptionist was like, oh no, we don't have one of those. And I was like, okay. And so that's when I got a call back. I literally got a call back. Hi, this is blah, blah, blah. I forget her name. This is the DSA. I'm holding I'm also the temporary ED. And I'm saying, hey, I'm looking for some information on this woman. And she goes, I looked for her. We have no records of anyone by that name. I was like, oh, okay. She's like, I even checked the parishioner system. To verify. Anyway, so I guess my point is I'm bragging about having gotten on the phone with the DSA Salt Lake City. Yeah. And that's just, I can verify that at least a tiny, tiny little org like Salt Lake City, which again, the only org in the entire state of Utah, 3 staff members, but they still have a DSA. Yeah.
It's crazy. It continues to dwindle. And we are 20 years into the ideal organization thing, right? That was supposed to be the big savior. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
And none of that is happening. Scientology hasn't grown one iota. It's actually shrunk in all these years, despite the millions of dollars put into real estate to make it look like something that's legitimate. These ideal org buildings are nothing but tits on a trough because nothing is getting done. And they're recruiting staff members with this idea that, oh, we got this great building and it's going to be great. And you get to dress like a flight attendant and an usher at a movie theater. And, you know, it's going to be so much fun. And nobody's in there. Nobody. And he has to have seen this now. He's been there long enough to know and not ask like, ooh, I don't know, maybe this isn't working.
That's right. That's right. You know what would make being a staff member just even more attractive than whatever it is if they simply made enough money to be able to afford nice, attractive dress clothes instead of making them all look like flight attendants.
Yeah. I don't know whose idea that was. That is
it makes
one
it
of
look
the
more
things.
culty. I mean, Natalie, when we were on staff, there were no uniforms. People just dressed nicely.
Uniforms. Oh, in the class 5 org. Yeah.
Yeah. When we were on class 5 staff, there were no uniforms. Everybody just dressed nicely. You didn't walk into the building and go, what is going on here? It looks like a cult. Making everyone wear these uniforms makes it look more like a cult.
It does.
Yeah. Now here's something else occurred to me because you just mentioned the ideal org stuff. And actually the first question you asked is, can you believe that they're being allowed to talk about some of this stuff? I kind of can't, but I also don't know what other choice they have at this point. Like the only way to reach people is social media, but it's so funny. I mean, it's sort of cute that they're trying. Yeah. Because it also shows that they are being pressured to try, you know, this idea that there's no more emphasis on expansion and that everyone's just moving to Clearwater and giving up is just bullshit. Like these orgs are all trying to get their stats up. They're all under pressure to get their stats up. Right.
Yeah.
But you just know it's not going to work. So like even with Gunnar, someone mentioned in one of the comments, someone said, oh, you should interview Aaron Smith-Levin. And Gunnar responded to the comment. He goes, I think he's probably more interested in interviewing me. And then someone else said something else about me. And he goes, he makes money doing videos about Scientology. And I'm like, someone's got to make money on Scientology.
Exactly. And I think it's refreshing that they seem to actually be in there, handling the comments. I mean, obviously they're deleting a bunch as well. But nowhere does Scientology respond to things. And for the first time, we're seeing on social media Scientology staff members. Now, isn't it interesting that it's the younger ones responding to comments or making jokes about it or addressing it head on? He acknowledged that he knows who you are, and yeah, you're making money on Scientology. He didn't,
Okay.
delete it or not mention it.
I've got to give you another example because someone commented about Danny Masterson, and I've got to pull up the screen. They replied to a comment about freaking Danny Masterson. Okay, so someone goes, and this was in response to the account for the DC org. Okay, someone goes, well, that one guy really killed your image, huh? And the DC account goes, which guy? And the person goes, Danny Masterson. And then the account goes, yeah, Danny Masterson's actions directly go against the principles of Scientology. So Danny Masterson may call himself a Scientologist, but he isn't actually applying Scientology. Now they just admitted that Danny Masterson was guilty. I mean, right?
Yeah.
They weren't. And
but at least it's an answer. They're responding to it. It's a change. It's something different than they've ever done for decades. They're kind of coming out, or at least these individual people, but we've never seen that before unless you're somebody who worked directly with the Office of Special Affairs, a Mike Rinder, a Tommy Davis, Pat Harney.
Right.
We're seeing everyday staff members, not even Sea Org members, Class 5 org staff members, these young people being allowed to engage on social media. Honestly, I think I'm not hating it because I'm interested, like, how are they going to respond to this? How are they going to handle what's no doubt going to be a lot of backlash?
Totally. Okay, this comment is brings something to mind. I saw them in uniforms and I thought they were Sea Org members. Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of the questions that they get on these accounts, in my opinion, I can tell are questions they're getting because people think they are the billion-year contract people.
Yeah.
And I think that has been kind of David Miscavige's goal, is to sort of blur the lines between staff members and Sea Org members so that he can enforce, Sea Org ethics and Sea Org morality onto staff members, and a little bit. That's kind of my opinion. And that has sort of happened over time as these massive training evolutions run by David Miscavige keep happening, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Now, you mentioned the ideal orgs failing a moment ago. This just occurred to me today. Because I'm in the process of going through every one of the 134 Scientology organizations, and I'm creating a pivot table that I can use for a video of the orgs, the cities, the countries, and the Scientology continents. And I'm going to do org counts, and I'm going to do all sorts of stuff, and which ones are ideal and which ones are not yet ideal. And anyway, in the process of doing this little exercise, it dawned on me. The evidence that the ideal orgs are failing aren't just that they're empty. It's that they can't get the rest of the orgs done. And here's what I mean by that. They can't get the orgs done because they don't have enough money, but they don't have enough money because they don't have enough members, right? If you actually had more like Scientology right now, a small amount of people are donating a lot of money.
Yeah.
But what should be happening is they've already turned half of the orgs ideal. If the half of the orgs that have become ideal were bringing new people into Scientology, then all of those new people would have enough new money to get the rest of the orgs done.
Yeah.
And this might seem like that's obvious, but it had just never quite occurred to me before now. It's not that Scientology is running out of money. It's that they're running out of members, and the program that was supposed to generate new members, we can prove it isn't working. Because they wouldn't be running out of money if the new orgs were bringing new people into Scientology. That was the thing that kind of dawned on me for the first time today, that you could solve the equation that way.
Yeah. And they know it. That's the thing. Staff members know it. They're not allowed to talk about it, address it, or bring it up. Like, hey, how come nobody's here? We've been doing this ideal org thing for years, yet there aren't more staff members.
That's right.
It seemed like there'd be some, what do they call that? Like some critical mass point, right? Where it just completely turns around because you've got enough people. Same way that they always said that you could clear the planet. You don't have to clear every man, woman, and child. You just have to clear enough people to calm down, the rest. But that's not happening. Like the math doesn't math Scientology.
That's right. And we grew up in a cult, so we're not that good at math, but we know that math don't math.
That's right. Even we know that math don't math.
It sort of throws back to the earlier question of how can you be smart enough to become a dentist, but not smart enough not to get sucked into a cult. First of all, reminds me of a great Jerry Seinfeld joke. What do you call a doctor that flunks out of med school?
What?
A dentist. But something tells me the dentists are making a hell of a lot more money, okay? But here's my thing. Even if you want to be like, how can you be smart enough to be a dentist, but not smart enough to not get sucked into a cult? How can you be smart enough to any of this and 20 years into the Ideal Org program? Let's say you're Scott Scharf, okay?
Yeah.
You've donated tons of time, tons of money. You've donated family members. You're this many years into the Ideal Org program, and your Ideal Org, St. Paul, Twin Cities, which is one of the biggest Ideal Org buildings in the entire world, is freaking empty. Hardly any staff members, hardly any public. Okay, this is funny. Super Weekend Warriors. Aaron, don't be an anti-dentite. Like the thing is, you do not have to. Smart people get sucked into cults. Okay, they don't know they're getting sucked into cults, but smart people are also still be able are still supposed to be able to analyze and reason. And it's like you can see with your own two eyes that despite all the money you've donated, despite your own kids working at this place, despite all the promises David Miscavige made about what the Ideal Org program was going to bring about and what it was going to make possible, those were lies, and the program is a failure. And so I wish I could have an opportunity to sit someone like Scott Scharf down and be like, Scott, what do you think is happening here?
Yeah.
What do you think is the reason for this? And how can you continue to support it? What would you think he would say to something like that?
I think first off, most cult experts will say that intelligence has nothing to do with it when it comes to getting into a cult or staying in a cult. And to your point, we didn't know we were in a cult. You don't know you're in a cult when you're in a cult. I mean, maybe there's some people out there that, I totally knew I was in a cult. Then good on you. I didn't know I was in a cult. I didn't know how much of a cult Scientology was. I mean, it took years, I think, because I grew up with it. That's all I knew. To me, it was normal. And I think that's the thing, is you're not allowed to use that intelligence or question it, right? That's all part of the mind control. I mean, if you start having thoughts that are contrary to what L. Ron Hubbard is saying, what happens? You get false data stripping in Scientology, which is reprogramming. Immediately, if you are critical, like, hey, why aren't we expanding? What's going to happen? You are going to get a security check, and it's going to cost you money. So you don't question, you don't point out those things that are wrong and are happening. So I think that's all part of it. It's cheaper to convince yourself that it's because maybe there's a local suppressive person or somebody is a potential trouble source than it is to actually let your mind, you're conditioned. I can remember having similar thoughts and mind controlling myself into not thinking those thoughts. Like, oh, that's a critical thought. I must have overs and withholds. Like, it's so quick for us to mind control ourselves. It's like it's built into us. I think that's all that happens. And I think when we leave, and especially when we've been gone for a while, we forget how strong and fast that mind control actually kicks in. And you're drilled and drilled and drilled onto how to do a lot of this, right? And from the false data stripping to security checks to so many things that keep you in a state of mind of not questioning. I'm sure it's the same way for them. And think about Scott Scharf, millions of dollars into Scientology at this point. Now he's got 2 kids hardcore in Scientology at this point. He's invested a lot of money in his wife for Scientology at this point. it's really hard to take a step back and go, I made a mistake.
Right. It's true. It's
And he
true.
could lose his kids now at this point, right? Because they're,
Now
you
he
know, they're
could.
minors, and they could
Well, and that's what's
disconnect them.
interesting about someone like Scott Scharf is like his ability to continue to earn a living and maintain his life doesn't actually, well, aside from the fact that his, kids are now on staff, I'm sure if he were to, for whatever reason, decide to leave Scientology, he would likely be able to bring his family with him and not lose his business and everything. It does make me wonder how many of the staff members in his office are Scientologists, but there just aren't that many Scientologists in Twin Cities. So there's actually, he's one of these people I wouldn't even assume that most of his staff are Scientologists the way I would for a dentist in Clearwater, Florida, or Los Angeles, for example.
Yeah, they weren't when I was there, when I was a patient, because I knew all the Scientologists. I don't remember seeing any, but I heard later on when he had joined staff, I think that more Scientologists and staff members went to work for him, which is common. You did a video recently about, Joe what's his face in Chicago supporting Scientology in Chicago. It's similar that way in that when you're a Scientologist with a business is you can hire staff members to help them be on staff.
Yeah.
But I wasn't that way before, I think, for that hot minute that Scott must have joined staff. And then that was after I had left and left Scientology and had to give up my dentist. Everything else, I was like, disconnect, whatever. I mean, I do have a couple of friends. There's only really 3 people that I was ever like, I am devastated over this loss.
Mm.
And I wasn't devastated over losing my dentist, but a little bit. He didn't make my list, but I was like, dang, man, I finally found one that I like and I'm comfortable with, and he's super cute. And now, I can't see him.
I also lost my dentist when I left Scientology. I would go to Jill Hagen at Northwood Dental. And they stopped having any interest in booking.
That was the name of Scott's clinic.
What's that?
I think that was the name of Scott's clinic, Northwoods Dental.
Let me see. Well, Scott's clinic is now called Northwoods. Oh yeah, look, Northwoods.
Yeah.
Northwoods Dental. Yeah, the one here in Clearwater is Northwood.
Oh, Northwood.
Yeah, the S makes all the difference. But yeah, that's a funny coincidence. Okay, let's see. Vanessa says, I love seeing how empty the Ideal Arc buildings are. I was in Harlem a couple of years ago for work, and it was a ghost town in there, yet the street was bumping. Yeah. Tim Greenglass, ironic, dentists as Scientologists. Hubbard's breath would make a camel faint, and that jack-o'-lantern mouth. Oof. It's true. Eunice Swagpants, imagine being these kids' friends, thinking you're going to be out on their boat, and plot twist, let's go hang out at the org.
Mm-hmm. Come read my Dianetics book.
I mean, these guys becoming like TikTok Scientology famous is a little unfortunate. Like, do you want to be known as that Scientology guy? Like, I have to know what these guys' posts are now. If there's anyone out there in the Scientology world, under the radar Scientology world, who can email me and let me know what these guys' posts are.
I think that
growing up in Scientology at gmail.com. Go ahead.
Holden might be in Division 6, which is in charge of recruiting, right? Because he wears one of those, he's wearing the Tom Cruise crew neck. Oh, I gotta get comfortable. I had to, I packed up my studio. So.
Oh my God, you're right. Holden's not even wearing a standard uniform. This guy is totally off the rails.
But I'm wondering, but I think that is part of the uniform. We've seen a few like that with that Tom Cruise black top. And so I'm wondering, is that a Div 6 one? Yeah, there was a guy in Chicago.
Is that Chicago guy? Oh, wait. Okay, no, I'm thinking of the guy in San Francisco. The guy in San Francisco, I think, is wearing the tie and everything. You saw a guy in Chicago?
Yeah. Wearing the
young skinny guy? I think he was security, right? Or he was you're right. He wasn't wearing a standard uniform.
Yeah, which made me wonder, like, does that particular uniform represent a different division? Is it because he's handling new people? I don't know. And I think that Holden, the other reason that makes me think that he was in Division 6, which is in charge of recruiting new people, is some of the videos, like he's talking about Division 6 courses and stuff. They're really promoting it.
Well, you can't promote major courses. You can only promote Division 6 courses.
Yeah. But even like not even just books, like they were showing like I think even some of the free ones,
Ah,
but the successful communications course. And it was like how to tell what was the one course? Had a weird title. It was like how to tell if somebody's lying, how to tell the truth, or how to lie.
I don't know. About 30 seconds ago, your audio changed
Oh, it did?
a little
Hold
bit.
on. How about now? Is that better?
Can you tap it, see if it's on? Okay, it's still on. All right, ignore me.
Yeah.
I'll leave it alone. Okay, Northern Girl says, Natalie, had you wanted to keep him as a dentist, would he have refused you because you're an SP? Where would the rules fall on that with the real world governing dental associations or something?
I mean, technically, if I wanted to push it and go and then make an issue out of it, but honestly, at that point when I was leaving and I was declared a suppressive person, I don't really want a Scientologist in my mouth. You know what I'm saying? Even if he's that good looking. It's just like, I don't know. I wasn't comfortable with him coming at me with a drill. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a suppressive person. He might be forced to have to like not, quit me as a patient because
Yeah.
I'm no longer a Scientologist, but I wasn't about to try and find out. And honestly, the real truth of it for me was I didn't want to put him in that position. I liked Scott and his wife, and I didn't want to put them in that position to have to do that. And so I no longer saw him as a dentist because I knew the position it would put him in, and I didn't want to do that,
Yeah.
even though it's
You know how
wrong.
Do you know how my dentist got rid of me? I would go in so often for cleanings that
Mhm.
they would give me some sort of a reduced rate per cleaning, right? Because I was going to like every 12 weeks, I would just go in all the time because I just like having my teeth cleaned. And because of that, I'd be like, guys, they'd be like, have you seen the doctor for your checkup and your x-rays? I'm like, guys, I'm not paying for the checkup and the x-rays. I'm here every 12 weeks. I've got the healthiest teeth you've ever seen. I'm like, do I have to get them? I mean, I don't want them. And they're like, okay, because it's you, we won't make you do
Mhm.
it. So they were already cutting me some slack and letting me do this thing they didn't normally let people do. And then once it got declared, they're like, until you get your exam and your x-rays, you can't get any more cleanings. I was like, that's the only reason. I was like, bye-bye. That's how they knew they knew if they made me get an exam and x-rays, I'd leave. And that's what they did.
Mhm.
Up until that point, they said, okay, as long as you sign this little form saying you won't sue us if we miss something, then that's fine. I'm like, I'll sign whatever you want me to sign. Okay. I just want my damn teeth cleaned. And then they're like, no, you can't do that anymore. You need an exam and x-rays. So I was like, okay, bye-bye.
Yeah, you have to. I found a new dentist who was obviously not a Scientologist. And that's when I discovered that you can get gas. I was like, what the hell? For a cleaning even, because dental stuff, like most people, it freaks me out. And I would just get like really anxious about it. And when I found a new dentist, um, I'm like, yeah, I just really have a lot of anxiety around it. And, they're like, well, we specialize. Actually, I look for them because I think I looked up like dentists specializing in special needs people.
Oh, is that what they call the sedation dentistry?
Well, I think sedation is they actually sedate you and, put an IV in. But this was just some laughing
Hmm.
gas to, do the cleaning. And I was like, number one, like, fun. I'm like, they never offered me laughing gas at the other dentist. But again, we were Scientologists. I would get the
That's interesting.
Novocaine.
That's interesting. So a Scientologist dentist would never offer that to their patients because they believe it creates engrams.
Yeah. Or at
Yeah.
least the Scientology
It's against
patients. I
it's
mean, I'm
against
sure.
Dianetics, so they would never even offer that as an option.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I was like, where has this been my whole life? Like, I cannot believe it. And by the time, like the second time, then when I got my teeth cleaned again and we did the gas again, I mean, I had to pay extra for it. It was like $50. And then I was like, it was like we established some trust. And then I was fine after that. I mean, truth be told, my hygienist, I think, was pregnant and for some reason couldn't do the gas. And she's like, well, we can have someone else do your teeth, or you got to give up the gas. I'm like, I'll give up the gas. I'm just doing it for fun at this point.
Okay, so Why is it that hygienists are constantly trying to have conversations with you while they have their hands and instruments in your damn mouth? You're like, it's like, I knew someone who just would leave would dentist hop and was just looking for a dentist that wouldn't try to talk to them while they had their mouth full.
I think it's just maybe they don't like the quiet. Some people aren't comfortable with silence.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like they got to make small talk.
We got any hygienists in the chat that want to speak up on
Yeah,
behalf of
tell
all
us.
dental hygienists who love to be
Well, and that's
chatty
the other
Cathy's?
good thing about when you get the gas is they're not talking to you except to tell you to
Right.
sit up, hold your mouth open, and stop laughing so hard.
Super Weekend Warriors, they're trying to be TikTok famous. Little do they know they'll regret that if they ever leave the cult. I mean, could you imagine any of these guys who are doing all these TikTok videos? If they did leave, they could then do TikTok videos about having had to do the TikTok videos in Scientology. Great.
I think it's fantastic. I think it's great because when they leave, which they will leave. These, especially with these two, these are kids who grew up in Scientology, but, kind of had the PG version of it, if you will, because they weren't in there doing courses at 6, 7, 8 years old or being, told to drop out of school at 13 to join staff.
Right.
That wasn't happening. And so it was a very different experience. And so
Yeah.
I'm sure they have a different view too of what Scientology is. But that's why I keep saying, like, well, they know now, like you've been there long enough to peek
Right.
behind the curtain and see. And now, but I think that if they, really do become somewhat TikTok famous and leave, great, because then he'll have a big platform to tell the truth about Scientology.
Exactly. That's one of the other reasons it is surprising Scientology is letting these guys get on social media, because it's going to backfire in a major, major way. And not, and not just with the negative feedback, but when some of these people eventually leave Scientology themselves.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when they stopped putting Scientologists in the Scientology films so that they didn't have to reshoot the films every time one of them left Scientology. They're sort of creating the exact same problem, but on social media.
Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, I appreciate that at least it's the first time we've seen in a very long time any type of dialogue between a Scientology staff member and the public in general.
Right.
And honestly, I don't think that overall, I think it actually can help them, honestly. Because if you don't know a lot about Scientology or you just heard it as a cult, and then you see these kids, kids to me, because they're younger than my kids, doing, living this life and promoting this aspirational lifestyle, which is just not true. Most staff members aren't doing any of the stuff that they're doing. They're toiling and they're working a whole other job. And God forbid they have a family to support as well. I mean, think about it, like you're a staff member and you're watching this guy's TikTok all about all these, he goes and shoots guns and goes hunting and goes water skiing and does all this. And you're a staff member and you're like, with what time, with what resources?
Yeah. It is, you mentioned that before and I sort of glossed over it, but like, if a staff member were to even show up to post and start talking to other staff members about the hunting trip they went on, they would get in trouble.
Yeah.
Because it's other fish to fry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
like,
counterintention.
what are you encouraging people to spend less time at the org? Like
it's an exterior influence, external influence.
External influence. It's PTS to the middle class is another thing that they call it.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it's what he's promoting on social media.
Yeah, I do think there's a degree that I think they've just kind of gone rogue. I mean, it has to be on the radar of the Office of Special Affairs, but I don't know. It looks coordinated. So different.
It looks coordinated. The accounts from the different orgs are all doing videos on the same topics.
That is true. So it's got to be something else they're trying. I mean, maybe they hired some PR firm that was like, okay, if you really want to, redo your image, like you need to put some younger people out there. And some minorities. You got to combat the whole, everybody in Scientology is old and white.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of like, most of what we see when you look at the blue buildings or even at Flag, you don't see these young people. They're very few, and they're all children of Scientologists.
Yeah. Amber Vanass, when my ex and I lived in Chicago, my ex worked for a dentist who was an OT8 and was very much a Scientologist. Vanessa Winbury, good to see you, Vanessa. This is for the Sea Org. Many are called, and everyone is chosen. Yeah. Deanna Ross, pretty funny. I experienced the same thing, Natalie, when John Horwich showed up in the Sea Org. I know the name Horwich. Oh, wait, did he marry Diana Hubbard?
John Horwich.
He married Diana Hubbard, right?
Yeah.
Yes. In fact,
Wait.
so Roanne Horwich is Diana's daughter, right?
Yes. And he's out.
I never knew John Horwich, so I don't know what he looks like. Did you know him?
I did not know him. I knew you know what? No, I'm confusing him with Suzette's husband. Suzette Hubbard, L. Ron Hubbard's other daughter. We were in the same birthing class together.
Oh, I found a video with John Horwich. Okay, so he's an older fellow now, for sure. Yes, okay. I guess she was just saying John was a hottie back in the day.
Oh yeah, I experienced the same thing, Natalie, when John Horwich showed up in the.
That's what I think Deanna's saying. Okay. Rusty says, at an org with such a big building and so few people, what would you even do on post every day? Write letters? Yeah. First of all, you got to clean that damn building. Okay. People are going to be outside handing promo. Someone's got to be answering the phones all the time. There's got to be a supervisor in the course room all the time, even if nobody's in there. I wonder if they even have any auditors, but if they have an auditor or two, they're either going to be working on PC's folders, doing admin. If they don't have anyone to audit, they're going to be trying to call in people who've paid for services to try to get them to come in. You can always keep people busy, but yes, but when all else fails, writing letters is absolutely what they would be doing. Yeah.
Outflow equals inflow.
That's right. Northern Girl, they'd probably even take Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's. If they could as long as they could get some money out of him, as long as he had some credit cards in his wallet.
Exactly.
Bridget, question. Don't you think they're able to say anything they want because they are whales to that org that give them tons of money?
Yeah, they are
not
treated
anything
differently. But not anything. But I mean, I do think they are treated differently. They are treated similar to celebrities, the big money ones.
Yeah. Okay. Vanessa says, OMG, Aaron, this is juicy info you got. Oh, yes. Talking to the DSA.
Yeah.
Salt Lake City. Amber Vanass, in the Sea Org at Celebrity Center back in the day, their uniforms match the drapes in the lobby. I remember that. Do you remember that weird floral pattern? The CC had on their ties and their little ascots. It was literally matched the drapes.
I never got the ascot thing. I was like, the uniforms, I just don't know. So surely somebody went to the rehabilitation project force over this.
Right. Adam Carmona. Meanwhile, Excalibur was written after a dental procedure.
The gas.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sharona says, trying to attract people with money. You can do all your rich people stuff while doing this. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what he's saying, this is that we do all these other things.
Yeah, totally. Well, this is awesome. Now that Gunnar and Holden's identities have been revealed, we can address them by name, like gentlemen in the TikTok comments. Everybody, it is Gunnar Scharf and Holden Scharf. I just for a guy with a normal name like Scott, I just honestly can't believe he named his kids Gunnar and Holden.
You don't like
Scott and
names?
Jennifer?
I kind of like it. Well, maybe because they had more, plain
Gunnar
names,
Scharf. I mean, Gunnar Scharf
Yeah.
sounds like you're not feeling well.
Gunnar Scharf. Maybe
Holden
Gunnar
Scharf.
because they do like
Gunnar Scharf.
guns and they hunt and stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Maybe. Now I want to know what the daughters' names are.
Ugh, I don't remember it all. I know there's 3 of them.
All right, any of you super sleuths out there who want to know, Scott Scharf, Jennifer Scharf, Gunnar Scharf, Holden Scharf. Who are the 3 Scharf sisters? Hit me up at growingupinScientology@gmail.com.
I think they should keep going doing what they're doing on TikTok so we can kind of all see this play out. And like I said, I'm not hating it because at least it's something different. At least it's a response. At least they're communicating. We've not seen this. Hey, whatever happened to that podcast, the Scientology podcast that was supposed to happen with that Casey
Exactly.
Kasem's daughter?
Whatever
What
happened to it?
They
Whatever.
announced it.
I never saw anything happen with it. But
We've
you know
been
who is
waiting.
doing a podcast? Tampa Brad.
Oh, really?
Brad. Yeah, he interviews Scientologists, and it's amazing. And I just haven't gotten around to reacting to them yet. But you better believe I'm going to be reacting to every single one of them.
That's hilarious. I can't wait to see that.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Before we go, let me show everyone one more time Natalie's YouTube channel.
Yes, and
Natalie
hello, everybody.
Yes. Life After a Cult, everyone. You can find her there once Natalie's done finishing moving.
Yeah.
Back to doing some videos.
Yeah, it's been, since Tony died, I've pretty much been working and getting ready to move and downsizing and going through all of the things. And when I started working, not working from home anymore, I needed all, it takes a lot to act normal all day. Like I got nothing left after that. And then going through this whole process of packing and downsizing and going through everything, I just needed time to focus on, me and get through this. Like I just need to get through the move. And I'm moving this weekend. And I think I'm going to feel like I'm going to have so much more time because literally all my time has been I'm working or I'm packing and getting ready to move or getting rid of garbage or something, doing Goodwill runs. It's just been nonstop. So I'm looking forward to having some time and being in a new space that's just mine and to be able to, that feels like such a big step forward. There's a lot of finality. And that was the thing too. It's been so emotional that I just haven't had the emotional bandwidth to do regular videos. Like I've had nothing to give beyond what it takes for me to work the way, that I work, the hours that I work and get ready to move through, still dealing with the grief process. Like I need time for that. So, but I do want to, and I'm really looking forward to it because there's so many things that I want to talk about.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this evening, and we'll see you guys soon. 99.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe.